Right now, as you're watching this video, there's an invisible force controlling almost every decision you make. What you buy, what you believe, even what you think you want. And here's the disturbing part. You probably think you're free. You're not. None of us are. And I'm about to show you exactly how this mechanism works, who benefits from it, and why it's been so effective for over a century. Asterisk, I've spent 15 years studying social systems, economic structures, and the psychology of control. And what I've discovered is both fascinating and terrifying. There's a reason why generation after generation continues following the same patterns. Working jobs they hate, buying things they don't need, accepting lives they never truly chose. It's not an accident. It's not coincidence. It's designed. The system I'm talking about isn't some conspiracy theory cooked up in a basement. It's right out in the open. It's been documented, studied, and perfected over decades. The mechanism is so elegant, so seamlessly integrated into daily life that most people never even notice it's there. But once you see it, you can't unsee it. Asterisk, but here's what really keeps me up at night. This mechanism doesn't just control your choices. It makes you defend it. It makes you fight for your own cage. And the people who designed this system understood something profound about human nature, something that makes this mechanism nearly impossible to escape. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what that is. And more importantly, you'll know what to do about it. Asterisk, let me tell you about Sarah. She's not a real person, but she represents millions of real people. Sarah graduated college with a degree in art history because she loved creativity and culture. She dreamed of working in museums, maybe curating exhibitions, traveling to see great works around the world. But within 6 months of graduation, Sarah was working at a marketing firm. Why? Student loans, rent, car payments, healthcare. The numbers didn't add up any other way. The job paid well, better than museums ever would. So she took it, telling herself it was temporary. 10 years later, Sarah is still there. She's been promoted twice. She makes good money now, better than most of her friends. She's got the apartment, the lifestyle, the weekend brunches, but something feels off. Every Sunday night, she gets this feeling in her chest. Dread. Another week of meetings, deadlines, corporate speak, work that doesn't matter to her. But she can't leave. The mortgage, the car lease, the lifestyle she's built, the expectations. Sarah is trapped. But here's the crucial part. If you asked her, she'd probably say she's doing fine. She might even say she's living the dream. Because the mechanism doesn't just trap you. It convinces you that the trap is freedom. Asterisk, so what is this mechanism? It has 3 interconnected parts that work together like a perfectly designed machine. And understanding these 3 parts is absolutely critical. Part 1. Manufacturer needs. In 1928, a man named Edward Bernays, the nephew of Sigmund Freud, pioneered what we now call public relations. But what he really created was the science of manipulating public opinion. Bernays understood that you could make people want things they didn't need by associating products with deeper psychological desires. Before Bernays, people bought things they needed. After Bernays, people bought things to feel complete, successful, attractive, worthy. He didn't sell bacon. He sold the image of a hearty American breakfast. He didn't sell cigarettes to women. He sold freedom and rebellion, calling them torches of liberty. This was the birth of consumer culture. And it's everywhere now. You don't need the latest smartphone, but you're made to feel like you're falling behind without it. You don't need luxury brands, but you're told they signal success. Every advertisement, every influencer post, every perfectly curated social media feed is selling you an image of who you should be. And the products that will supposedly get you there, the mechanism creates artificial scarcity of fulfillment and sells you the solution in product form. You feel incomplete and conveniently. There's always something to buy that promises to complete you. Asterisk Part 2. The debt trap. This is where the mechanism gets truly insidious. Because once you're convinced you need things you don't actually need, the system makes it incredibly easy to get them, even if you can't afford them. Credit cards. Buy now, pay later. Student loans for degrees that may never pay for themselves. Mortgages that keep you working for 30 years. Debt creates dependence. When you owe money, you can't afford to take risks. You can't quit the job that's crushing your soul. You can't start that business. You can't take a year off to figure out what you actually want. You need steady income to service the debt. You become risk-averse, compliant, controllable. The system wants you in debt because debt makes you predictable. A person without debt has options. A person drowning in payments has none. And here's the brilliant part. The system normalizes this. Everyone has debt. It's considered responsible to have a mortgage. It's expected that you'll have student loans. Credit cards are a necessity for building credit. The trap is presented as adulting, as success, as the way things are done. But step back and look at what's really happening. You're trading decades of your life, your time, your energy, your freedom, to pay for things that were marketed to you as necessities, but are really just wants that someone convinced you to have. Asterisk if this is resonating with you. If you're starting to see the mechanism operating in your own life, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is dedicated to pulling back the curtain on systems of control and giving you the knowledge to break free. We're building a community of people who refuse to be unconscious participants in their own manipulation. Subscribe, and let's wake up together. Asterisk Part 3. Identity capture. This is the most sophisticated part of the mechanism, and it's what makes everything else stick. The system doesn't just trap your finances and your time. It captures your identity. It becomes who you are. Think about how we introduce ourselves. I'm a lawyer. I'm a teacher. I'm in tech. We define ourselves by our role in the economic system. Our job isn't just what we do. It becomes who we are. And when your identity is tied to your role in the system, leaving becomes an existential crisis. Sarah from earlier? She's not just trapped by money. She's trapped by identity. She's a successful marketing professional now. That's how her family sees her. That's how she sees herself. To leave would be to lose herself? To admit that 10 years was a wrong turn. The psychological cost feels higher than just staying. The system is genius at this. It gives you titles, promotions, status markers. Senior analyst, director, vice president. Each one comes with a little dopamine hit, a sense of progress. You're climbing the ladder. You're succeeding. Never mind that it's someone else's ladder leading to someone else's definition of success. And then there's lifestyle creep. As you make more money, your spending increases. You move to a nicer place. You upgrade your car. You eat at better restaurants. You vacation in more expensive places. And suddenly your higher income doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like necessity. You can't go backward because you've built an identity around this lifestyle. Asterisk. Now you might be thinking this sounds cynical. Maybe you're thinking I'm exaggerating. So let me give you some historical context. In the 1950s and 60s, there was a surge in productivity in Western economies. Technology was improving, automation was increasing output, and for a moment, people genuinely believed we were heading toward a future of abundance and leisure. Economists predicted we'd be working 15-hour weeks by the year 2000. What happened instead? We're working more than ever. Americans work more hours than medieval peasants did. We have less vacation time than virtually any other developed nation. Productivity went up, but wages stagnated. The wealth generated went to the top, while everyone else worked harder for the same or less. This wasn't an accident. In the 1970s, there was a deliberate shift in economic policy. The focus moved from broad-based prosperity to maximizing returns for capital owners. Unions were weakened. Regulations were rolled back. The social safety net was framed as government overreach. And consumer debt was encouraged as a way to maintain spending even as wages flatlined. The mechanism was refined during this period. Instead of paying workers more, the system offered them credit. Instead of leisure time, it offered them more products to buy. The promise was reframed. You won't work less, but you'll be able to buy more. And if you can't afford it now, that's okay, we'll loan you the money. Asterisk, but why does this work? Why do we keep participating in a system that clearly isn't designed for our benefit? The answer lies in something psychologists call adaptive preference formation. When people are in constrained circumstances for long enough, they adapt their preferences to match what's available. We convince ourselves that we want what we can have, rather than acknowledging what we actually want, but can't have. This is a defense mechanism. It protects us from constant disappointment and frustration. But it also makes us complicit in our own limitation. We stop asking for more. We stop imagining alternatives. We accept the menu of options we're given and call it choice. There's also the sunk cost fallacy. The more time, money, and energy you've invested in a particular path, the harder it becomes to change course. You've spent 4 years and $50,000 on a degree. You're going to use it even if you hate the field. You've worked at the company for 8 years. You're not going to start over. These sunk costs become psychological chains. And then there's social proof. Everyone else is doing this. Your parents did it. Your friends are doing it. It must be the right path. We're social creatures. We look to others to determine what's normal, what's acceptable, what's possible. When everyone around you is participating in the system, it feels less like a choice and more like reality itself. The mechanism also uses more subtle forms of control that most people never recognize. Time scarcity is a big one. If you're working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, plus commuting, plus managing household tasks, when do you have time to think? When do you have energy to question anything? The system keeps you busy enough that you don't have the bandwidth to examine the system itself. This is intentional. A tired, busy person doesn't organize, doesn't protest, doesn't demand better. They just try to survive to the weekend. And then the weekend is spent recovering and running errands, preparing for another week. There's also information overload. We're drowning in content, in news and entertainment, in social media. There's always something to watch, something to scroll, something to distract. And most of it is designed to trigger emotion, not thought. Outrage, fear, envy, amusement. These keep you engaged, but not empowered. When you're emotionally reactive, you're not strategically thinking. You're not building solidarity with others. You're not organizing for change. You're just riding the emotional waves the algorithm serves you. So who benefits from this mechanism? Who designed it this way? The simple answer is, people who own capital benefit from people who only have labor to sell. If you own a company, you benefit when workers are desperate enough to accept low wages. If you own rental properties, you benefit when people can't afford to buy homes. If you own debt, you benefit when people are trapped in repayment cycles. But it's not quite as simple as a conspiracy by a small group of evil masterminds. The mechanism is more systemic than that. It's an emergent property of how our economic system is structured. People acting in their own rational self-interest, within the rules of the system, naturally create and maintain these patterns. CEOs who don't maximize shareholder value get replaced. Companies that pay workers more than competitors get undercut on price. Politicians who threaten the status quo don't get corporate funding. The system selects for behaviors that reinforce itself. That said, there are definitely people who understand this mechanism and deliberately work to maintain it. Think tanks funded by billionaires promote policies that benefit capital over labor. Media companies owned by conglomerates shape narratives in ways that support the status quo. Lobbyists write legislation that tilts the playing field. The mechanism is both systemic and maintained by those who benefit most from it. So, what do you do with this information? How do you break free from a mechanism this pervasive and sophisticated? First, awareness. You can't escape a trap you don't know you're in. The fact that you've watched this far means you're already ahead of most people. You see the mechanism now. That's the first and most important step. Second, audit your life. Look at where the mechanism has you trapped. What debts do you have? What expenses are truly necessary versus what you've been convinced you need? What parts of your identity are tied to your role in the system? This isn't about judgment. It's about honest assessment. Third, start creating margin. Margin is freedom. If you can reduce expenses, you reduce how much you need to earn. If you reduce debt, you increase your options. Every dollar you don't owe, every hour you don't have to work is a piece of freedom reclaimed. This might mean downgrading your lifestyle in some ways. But what you lose in status markers, you gain in autonomy. Fourth, redefine success. The system wants you measuring success by income, title, possessions. What if you measured it by freedom? By time with people you love? By work that actually matters to you? By peace of mind? This is harder than it sounds because we've been conditioned from childhood to pursue external markers. But it's essential. Fifth, build community. You can't opt out of the system entirely as an individual. But collective action creates possibilities that don't exist alone. This might mean moving to a lower cost of living area with friends, starting a cooperative business, sharing resources. The system relies on isolation. Community is resistance. Asterisk, I want to be clear. I'm not suggesting everyone quit their job and live in the woods. That's not realistic or desirable for most people. But there are real alternatives between full participation in the mechanism and complete rejection of modern society. You can pursue financial independence, building enough savings and passive income that work becomes optional. You can shift to freelancing or contract work that gives you more control over your time. You can downshift, accepting a lower income in exchange for better quality of life. You can pursue work that aligns with your values even if it pays less. The key is making these choices consciously rather than defaulting to the path the mechanism laid out for you. Maybe you decide the conventional path is actually right for you. That's fine, but it should be a choice, not an inevitability you never questioned. And here's something important. Breaking free doesn't mean you stop contributing to society. It means you start contributing on your terms. Some of the most valuable work, the work that genuinely makes the world better, happens outside the traditional economic system. Art, community building, care work, activism, teaching, creating knowledge. These things matter more than most corporate jobs, even if they don't pay as well. Zooming out, understanding this mechanism is about more than just individual freedom. It's about imagining what kind of society we want to live in. We want a society where most people spend the majority of their waking hours doing work they don't find meaningful, just to afford things they were told they should want? Or do we want a society where people have genuine autonomy, where work is connected to purpose, where prosperity is broadly shared? The current system isn't natural or inevitable. It's a set of rules and structures that were created and can be changed. Every economic system in history has eventually transformed. Feudalism gave way to capitalism. Capitalism will eventually give way to something else. The question is what that something else will be. If enough people understand the mechanism, if enough people start making different choices, the system will have to adapt. Change happens slowly, then all at once. Right now, we're seeing cracks. People questioning hustle culture, rejecting the idea that worth equals productivity, seeking alternatives to traditional employment. These are small signs, but they're real. Asterisk if you've made it this far. You're exactly the kind of person this channel is for. Someone who thinks critically, who questions systems, who wants more than what they've been handed. Subscribe now if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell, because I'm going to keep making videos that pull back the curtain on how power operates, and how we can reclaim our autonomy. And do me one more favor, share this video with someone who needs to hear it. The mechanism relies on people not talking about it. Spreading awareness is an act of resistance. Asterisk, the mechanism that keeps the system in place is powerful. It's sophisticated. It's been refined over decades. But it's not invincible. Its power comes from operating in the background, unexamined. Once you see it, once you understand how it works, you can start to work around it. You don't have to be controlled by manufactured needs. You don't have to trap yourself in debt. You don't have to let the system define who you are. These are choices, even if they don't always feel like it. The life you're living right now, is it the one you chose? Or is it the one that was chosen for you? That's the question that matters. And only you can answer it. Sarah from earlier in this video is fictional. But the choice she faces is real. It's the same choice millions face every day. Stay on the path that's comfortable but unfulfilling, or step off into uncertainty with the possibility of something better. There's no right answer that works for everyone. But there is an answer that's right for you. The mechanism wants you to believe you don't have options. But you do. They might not be easy options. They might require sacrifice and courage. But they exist. And the first step to taking them is seeing the mechanism for what it is. You've done that now. You see it. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.